Oh yeah.
HR headlines. Let's go. You
What an
pumped?
intro. I can't believe Adam's missing this.
It's all right. He's jamming with his sloth off grid. Well, we got some big news as always. Danielle, I'm curious on this one. Have you heard the term new collar worker? What is this new collar worker about?
Yeah, so I hadn't heard of it until I came across this article. But essentially, it is describing something I've spoken about actually on the news before, about how people are just graduating into the workforce from out of high school and just landing these crazy, high paying jobs at big companies. And it's really fulfilling a need for these organizations, like skill wise.
Yeah, it's huge, right? And I think look, been a big proponent of this. I'm not a huge fan of. I'm a fan of education. I'm not a fan of college, right? And I think it costs a ton of money. It puts students in debt. It's just getting more and more and more. And now we're seeing companies. I know IBM is probably the most notable company that
Yeah.
has just they dropped the degree requirements. But we're seeing this trend all the time. And really, the only sort of thing that I could see, like if you graduated like 5 years ago and you're like 100K in debt, and then you see like all these jobs with no degree requirements, you probably, it probably sucks for
You're probably
those people.
pissed.
But I think for everybody else, I'm like, again, like I'm not a huge fan of this quote necessarily, but the whole, hire for attitude, train for skill type thing. But
Mm,
I do think like there is just this in our society there can be just this weird weight on these degrees, and what they're saying is that, I mean, you get a degree, it really doesn't show that you can do a job at all better than someone who doesn't have a
yeah.
degree. um, but I've run into it before. In fact, one of my earlier jobs, they actually wanted my transcript, like my whole college transcript, to get a job.
Wow.
It was as a bank manager, believe it or not. So if you run into that, like if you ever run into a company where they're like, we need to see your GPA and everything you did.
That's so strange.
Have you ever run into that?
No, I've never run into that, but I have run into like, I mean, when I was applying to internships in college, they would ask me like, what are your most interesting classes that you're taking? Which I actually really liked that as a question, because no one else cared to ask me that, besides my parents.
You're like, my degree matters. This is amazing.
This matters. I'm taking industrial psychology. It matters so much, but what else I have to say about this is a lot of people are opting out of the college system. And I think especially this generation that sort of is seeing that there's a system at play
That's right.
that is not going to work for them, and it hasn't been working for a lot of people for years. And I think that's like kind of the result of this trend that we're seeing, this new collar worker. And with the average of the American workforce it's about to shrink, right? Companies have to do what they can to really ensure that they have a workforce to choose from in 20, 30 years. So one of the best ways, obviously, is lowering the barrier to entry. And realistically, like you said, I like education as well. I don't think that college is the only way to be educated. And I think especially with how fast things are moving and innovation is happening, that other alternatives to college, like boot camps, YouTube, online courses, like
Yeah.
masterclass, right? Like all these things are a place where you can actually get knowledge that will help you, increase your skills and be I guess, a more suitable candidate for a lot of the roles that we don't even know what they are right now.
100%. I mean, look, I get what's one of the most common questions I get on my TikTok live shows where we're just running for like job seekers. People are always asking about certifications, degrees, this, that. And to your point, I think technology moves so fast. I think about my degree that I got, I don't know, back in 2011. I don't think any of it is really relevant. It did help a little bit when I started in recruitment, just to have a baseline knowledge of different
Yeah.
positions, and I could kind of recruit on different roles. Um, but at the end of the day, skills. I think the one thing I think everybody should learn how to do.
All right, maybe if I put my mic on, this thing will work a lot better. Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the HR Morning Show. We are thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be back. I am back on the grid. Joel is off the grid today. Remember, this is the #1 spot for all things HR all morning long, and we are part of Purple Acorn, the only online community for HR professionals, decision makers, tech-savvy individuals, and entrepreneurs who are interested in the latest HR news and updates. And no, I'm not Joel. Don't get too excited here. But if you're hungry for more after this episode, head over to purpleacorn.io. We'll link it up on the bottom in a little bit and follow us on LinkedIn. I'm Adam Poser, and I'm back. Granted, I made such a big comeback that Joel left. We're just going to switch off every week. We're never going to connect again. We're never going to be on the show at the same time.
I'm just holding it down.
But he sent us a photo. I don't know where he is. I don't know where he is. Danielle, hey, what's up?
Hey, welcome back.
Where's Joel? Do we have a
For
photo
not
of him?
abandoning us this week.
No, definitely not.
I might, yeah.
Joel is in a cabin somewhere in, I don't even know where he is, somewhere north in the northern territories of northern
Getting
Wisconsin, whatever he is. But hey, everybody, guess what? We're live here every week. You're going to get some combination of the three of us. Sometimes you'll get all three. It's like the baseball play-by-play booth, when some of them are out. But anyway, we're on LinkedIn all the time, and it's our first time we are live on YouTube. And hey, production booth, can we link up that YouTube link a little bit later? Remember, you can follow us, Spotify, because guess what? We're now audio podcast too, everybody.
All platforms.
Should I hit the button? Should I do it?
Yeah.
All right, just once. I got it out of the way.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to be here, back with my partner in crime, Danielle. We have a great show for everybody today. So we're going to get into it here in a little bit. Danielle and I are both in New York. It's absolutely gorgeous. The last 2 weeks have been incredible. I've been out enjoying the Long Island South Shore waters, boating, chilling. Danielle, what have you been up to? Hanging in the city?
No,
I know.
honestly.
You were away. You were in Connecticut, right?
I was in Connecticut. I was celebrating my dad last weekend. He turned 60.
Love it.
And we had a really nice time. So lots of family, lots of friends. Just enjoying the last bit of summer, gearing up for Labor Day weekend.
It's coming, and congratulations, new addition to the family, right?
Thank you. Yeah. New nephew. I'm an aunt for the first time.
Auntie. Are you aunt or aunt?
Aunt. I actually do say aunt more than I say aunt. But
is that a Connecticut thing, or is that a New York City, Upper West Side kind of thing?
It's actually a thing because I have an aunt from England.
Auntie.
An aunt.
You have an aunt from England.
I have an aunt.
An aunt from England. So let's get into the show today. We have a good one. We have lots going on. We have some great guests that are coming to join us today. But let's kick things off to
headlines.
HR Reacts. Let's get into it.
A job and then I found a job, and heaven knows I'm miserable now. I was looking for a job and then I found a job, and heaven knows
So first, anything with the Smiths I love, right?
Oh, is that what it is?
Right? Production booth, that's the Smiths. Thank you. Give me a thumbs up on that one. Yeah. Thank you. But not his solo work, right? Okay. Danielle, what's your take on that?
It was a great song. I enjoyed it. I have listened to the Smiths before, but I can't say that I can name a song.
My theme song. My theme song is Big Mouth Strikes Again, and we'll cue that up later because it kind of just encapsulates my whole life story. No. I can't hit that today. My throat's still a little scratchy from the early allergies. I mean, it's cute. It's a cute video. What more can I say to that? I really have nothing else. Honestly,
we love dogs.
Anybody that knows me and my family, we're down with OPP, other people's puppies. We're down with other people's
100%.
dogs.
And other people's kids. OPK.
OPK. But guess what, guys? It's Labor Day weekend coming around the corner. It's the unofficial end to summer. It is also this week now in recruiting. It's kind of quiet. A lot of people are taking off and enjoying it. You might as well enjoy it. This is the week to take off. I think that this week should be a national holiday. What do you think?
Well,
like Europe.
We should take a hint from Europe. Yeah, we should just take the entire month of August off, in my opinion.
I don't know about the whole month, but I like this last week of August. But then we come back, and guess what season it is? It's our favorite season. It's conference season. I know we have a graphic for conference season. Is there a conference? didn't thank our friends ERIN. Our friends at ERIN. ERIN, the employee
Oh,
referral app.
Erin.
Thank you, ERIN. We'll
No
get to that in a
shade.
little bit. Thanks, Mike and the team over there. Thanks to all the Slothies. Thanks for making this show happen. So let's talk about what's coming up in conference season. First one up right after the Labor Day weekend is one that I've been to in the U.S. last year in Nashville, RecFest, and I've been to the one in U.K. Tremendous festival. That is the September 12th and 13th. Unfortunately, I will not be there this year. I have a prior commitment, but I know Joel will be there. Joel is speaking,
Joel's
and our friends
pulling
are
out
throwing
the
some
effort.
parties. Our friends over at Qualify, they're doing the 90s pontoon boat party. That's Thursday night.
That
We
sounds
have
fun.
Great People rooftop party Thursday night too. So we got some competing parties. That should be pretty cool. And I heard something about Hack a Job. Mark over there at Hack a Job. They got something up their sleeve, but you're gonna have to go and find out. Danielle,
Wow,
are you
gonna
going?
leave
You going
us
to?
with
Are you going to
cliffhanger.
RecFest?
At the moment, no plans. It's too hot. Just kidding.
It was nice last year. It was my first time in Nashville. Have you been to Nashville?
I have, yeah. I spoke at a conference in 2022.
What was your hot take on Nashville besides the hot chicken?
I thought it was like a mini Vegas.
Nash Vegas, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like there were so many bridal parties and things. But it
Mm.
was fun. I love live music. That's a way to my heart. So I was really happy there. I don't know if I could live there. It's like really
No.
small. I'm a New
Yeah,
York
I mean,
City gal, so
I thought it was pretty cool too. I mean, I like the stacked music, right? There'd be like 3 floors and it would be like
yeah.
music on each, but the windows were open and it was like competing music against each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It
feel
it
that.
it definitely had a little bit of that Vegas like stripped kind of cheese vibe
Right.
to it,
Yeah.
in a good way. A little bit better food. I like the food there. We ate well in Nashville. I enjoyed it. I had one of the best. This place called
Had
Biscuit, I think.
biscuits.
Oh man, biscuit and eggs. I
Biscuits.
took Joel. I took Joel out to breakfast. He still hasn't paid me back for that, but I took Joel out to breakfast and his
Spend money
buddy,
right now.
and we had we had. Is Joel tuning in? Does he even have Wi-Fi wherever he is?
No, I don't think he's as loyal as you are to the
No,
show,
no, he's
but
definitely
he
not.
would tune in and comment.
I tune in. I tune in if I can. Do we have anybody in the comments here? What up, Dickerson? We've got a bunch of people tuning in here. Guys, get involved with the comments here. Let's make this show even better with
Yeah.
you guys chiming
Let's
in
make
here.
Tuesday even better for everyone.
Let's make Tuesday the new Wednesday. If you comment in here, we're gonna keep the show moving on.
Tuesday's a new Friday.
Hey, do you want to give a shout out to our sponsor? Do you want to do it this time?
Yeah, of course. Well, Erin, thank you so much. As the premier employer referral and internal mobility software platform, Erin increases employer referral hires, which is amazing because it's making Adam's life easier,
Well, it's
less
actually
lucrative, and corporate employees by 5 times and decreases turnover by 50%. That's it. Some incredible numbers, I must say. And you can check out Erin 5.0. 5.0.
what?
Wow, I
What?
haven't heard that
I
before.
thought
With
4.0 was the bee's knees, but 5.0?
5.0 with new features designed to make finding the right job instantaneous, submitting a team referral as simple as sending a text chat or Slack. And honestly, that sounds really up my alley as a Gen Zer because we're all about the simplicity and efficient systems. And so check out Erin if you want to take your employee retention and referrals to the next level. And if you want some Erin swag, like these little slothies,
What?
purple square in the chat, and we'll message you for all your info so you can
Make
get
it
a
happen. And you'll be able to spot me at HR Tech at the end of September. You will find me wearing my red Erin sneakers, my fresh kicks that just came in. Thanks to Mike and the team for the kicks. I'll be rocking them. You'll find me wearing them on Tuesday and Thursday. Probably not Wednesday because it just doesn't work with my outfit that I got planned out for
Oh,
our friends over at Higher Road. I mean, it's a different color scheme. You know, I got to match. I got to figure it all out.
red is a bold color, so
I don't do a lot of red.
it doesn't go with everything. I have a really nice red work bag that I love.
It's a
It's
statement
the
piece.
Erin red. I
So
should
you-
just put Erin on it.
Well, Daniela, maybe we'll get you a last minute trip for HR Tech. What do you think about that?
Maybe, I was talking about this on LinkedIn yesterday, how I am really disappointed at a lot of HR tech brands because
Why?
of their lack of content strategy going into these conferences.
Ooh,
Yeah.
let's spend a minute here. Where do you think that they could do better?
Well, as I was saying on my post, when you go to a conference, it's an opportunity for your brand to come alive, for people, potential customers, clients to interact with your team and really showcase, what your values are all about and experience your brand in person. And in my opinion, a lot of companies don't really take full advantage of that by not creating content around that and
Agree.
engaging other people and, engaging with trends and, becoming a brand that people recognize, not just at the conference, but also post conference, right? That's even more important, arguably, right? And so
Follow up.
like, yeah, follow up, exactly. So you can extend the lifeline, the lifetime of your conference by creating content
Yep,
and
exactly. It
making
keeps
an
keeps
even
it going.
bigger bang for your buck.
I
So
love it.
that is my hot take of the morning.
Hot take of the morning. Well, we appreciate that. We're going to
More to
keep the
come.
show rolling here. Let's hear a word from our sponsor. I'm gonna try not to sneeze here. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to get into that. No one's gonna do that. But
I don't want to
here's
see it.
no one wants to see it. It's violent. My wife says, she's like, you sneeze like this old man. Like it's a full body sneeze, and it hurts.
Oh,
Like I
God.
pull things. It hurts. My whole body hurts for a good 8 minutes. It's a
Is this
terrible
what I have to look
experience.
forward to?
It's just don't marry an
Oh
old
my
Jewish man like
God.
me. It's just not a good thing. Just don't do it. So
But I
let's
have
get
to.
let's get into. Um, I'm gonna do it, Ben. I'm gonna do it. Watch the production room. All right, let's get into it.
I
We're
should
gonna.
go first.
This is no. I'm going here. Here we go. Okay, so this is what everyone's talking about. The labor market added 818 fewer jobs than the earlier report, and here's what the experts say that means. First of all, what the what? How do you miss that? How do you miss that? How do you miss almost 1 million jobs underreported? Is it politically driven? Which I think, right?
Oh,
Is
you
it
do?
politically driven?
Okay.
The other take that I heard on this one was that it included government jobs. So it's easy just to kind of forget that number, or it didn't include government jobs. Sorry. I don't know. So what does
The
this mean?
other
That the job
thing,
market is not as good as people say it is?
yeah.
Listen, I'm a frontline recruiter. I could tell you that certain things have picked up a little bit, but nowhere near where we were a couple of years ago, and nowhere near anything good. We are still in a terrible, terrible place for job seekers, whether it be blue collar and white collar. What's your take?
Yeah. Well, the other thing I heard was that it was also because of the fact that there's a bunch of immigrants that are working, and they hadn't filled out unemployment reports because they're not, officially supposed to be
That
working.
many?
Yeah. So
Aye.
that's that was 500,000 was the number that I read. So that's part of it, I think. And then there was, yeah. So essentially, it's just like they're getting bad data, and
Wow, shocker.
also, yeah, and also how many people, in my opinion, this is interesting because like how many people are actually making decisions about their portfolios and investments elsewhere in the economy because of that data that they're getting about the job reports.
Yeah, and how much is a job? I mean, listen, I'm not an economist. I mean, one of our guests coming up, Lynch, could probably talked about this a little bit later, but like, how does that number affect Stocks, how does that affect investments?
Yeah.
How does that affect VC funding? All those factors too. I mean, I hate to say this. This is politically driven. I mean, that's my gut feeling on this one. It's just a number. Like, how do they even count this stuff? Where do the numbers come from? Is it coming from unemployment filings? Like, where's the source of the data? How do they know? Does every company report open jobs, unfilled jobs? You know,
I
hiring,
think
firing.
so.
Like
Yeah,
where? Like,
it comes from unemployment.
I think it's a prediction.
Uh, yeah, yeah. I mean, also, I think companies have to submit how many jobs they've posted. So maybe some of that is like they overestimated
Right.
how many people they actually needed or ended up hiring. I'm not really sure. But
Well,
also,
when
there
it,
were a number of layoffs. So, like, is that part of the number as well? Like, I don't know.
yeah, the tech sector layoffs, but
It
on the flip
sounds
side of it, the
really
construction
complicated.
construction I think it's still on the up and up. You know, you look around in any of these
Yeah.
major cities, but again, who are these folks that are working construction? Are they documented, undocumented?
Yeah.
Are they U.S. Like there's a
Also,
lot to it here.
where are the investments coming from? Who are buying and investing and building
No,
these
this
huge
this is
projects?
this is a tricky
A
one.
lot of foreign money.
A lot of farm money. We're gonna keep an eye on it. Danielle, what headline are you talking about today?
Well, I'm talking about something a little bit depressing, which
Oh,
is
because that one wasn't depressing. Great, yeah.
yeah, a little bit more depressing in my opinion. How pessimistic college seniors are about the job market. So there was a recent report by Handshake that found that 57% of college seniors are pessimistic about starting their careers. And their main concerns, listed in order, are the labor market and competition for jobs.
Right.
Number two is debt.
Yikes.
Number three is the election.
Oof.
And number four is AI.
Oi.
And on the AI one, what's interesting is that half of the students surveyed don't think that AI will create more jobs or make hiring more equitable. And they want employers to be more transparent about how they're using the technology in the hiring process as well as in the day to day. But
Hmm.
that they also think that AI needs to be more regulated than it is currently.
There's so much to unpack here. So
So
much.
much, so
So much to
much.
unpack. I mean, I can't even imagine. You know, I graduated a long time ago, and we were optimistic. We were excited to hit the workforce. It was a different kind of energy. No, I'm being
Exactly.
serious. It was a different kind of energy. You know, we
Yeah.
were looking forward to it. We did unpaid internships, and we didn't bitch or whine about it. Right? We just did it because back in the day, you paid your dues, and that's what it was all about. Like, I want to get paid. I need to get paid for my work. I mean, nah. Right? We were lucky. We got free lunch. We were lucky to work at these companies. That's how old school it was, right? We were
Mm.
happy to be indentured servants over there because we were gaining the experience. No, I kid. They should have paid us back then. It was messed up. But there was a level of optimism. There was a level of like, hey, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna crush it. I'm gonna climb the corporate ladder. And now I think it's a factor of social media. I think it's a factor of too much information, too much fear mongering. And the other factor you said big time is debt. Let's talk about debt.
Yeah.
Right? The cost of, college education has incrementally just gone through the roof. It's funny, my parents
What's
actually
the
just paid.
average?
I don't know. I went to SUNY Buffalo, and I think all in was under like 17, 18 grand a year with housing back then. And my parents actually just paid it off. And that, that was 20 plus years ago. And they were playing a small part of it. But
Wow.
now, I mean, we have friends who are sending their kids to school. It's like 70, 80 grand a year. I can't even fathom that. So where's the ROI on that? Where's the ROI? How many years do I have to work? If you don't have parents who are wealthy, if you don't have parents that are going to take on that debt for you, you come out of school with 300 grand of debt before you even started day one in the workforce. That is not a sound business decision in my eyes.
No. And to your point, I've seen a lot of young professionals, we were talking about new collar workers last week, take that money that maybe their parents would have given them or maybe they don't have that money, right? And just go and get a job or create a business that with that seed money, right? And I think that's also something interesting that we're seeing sort of play out is there are fewer people going to college
Mm-hmm.
and this is why. And at the same time, the same report was talking about how a lot of these college grads would want their employers to pay off their debt and their loans. So their don'ts. So
There don't.
but only 9% offer that as a benefit. So I think there's a huge gap there. It's something I've talked about online as well. I should probably post about it again.
You should.
But that creating some sort of, incentive and benefit around debt is a huge way to attract young professionals. And I've even come up with like a really great strategy where the more the longer they stay, as long as they're growing, right? Like that's I think that should be a guarantee, is that you feel like you're growing and there's room in the organization to grow, but that every single year the percentage of your debt and your loan that's being paid off by the company increases. And that's incentive. That's a way to, maintain that workforce that is turning over like, oh my gosh, pancakes.
It's a scary place too. And what are kids doing? I watch my friends' kids, during the summertime. I'm like, what are they doing? Are they sitting around doing nothing? Are they working? Are they setting themselves up for success afterwards? Are they continuing to invest? Are they taking that time off? And like, what are they doing with it? It's interesting. But let's talk about the AI component to this too. I feel like the kids that are in school right now that are really doubling down on the AI, that are digging into the tech, those are the ones that are going to go
Yeah.
far versus the ones that are complaining about it.
Oh
The
yeah.
ones that are embracing it, who are understanding the tech.
They're also utilizing the tech in their classes if they're lucky, if their professors are forward thinking and they're they're thinking about how am I going to actually prepare these students for their careers. It's a lot to do with AI. It's a lot to do with how can I help them to learn and experience and explore these new skills and new tools. And I think that's a huge one. And another thing that I was reading about too was that because the gap is widening between what colleges provide in terms of an education and what the workforce actually requires, that there's a bigger need for upskilling within organizations at the younger professional level, which is why I'm building something around that right now.
Well, are colleges doing a better job of teaching practical knowledge versus old school textbook knowledge? I mean, that was a big problem when I was in school, right? Like you learn all this stuff and then you come out into the real world, you're like, nothing's relevant. Why do I need that?
Right. As someone who graduated not too long ago, within the past 5 years, I
Right.
will say it's getting better, but we're not there yet. And education, we all know how slow moving education is. So it's not up to par, I think, where it needs to be. And it
Well,
won't be for some time.
it's scary. I mean, my daughter's going into middle school, so now we're 6 years away from college for her, which is a crazy thing to think about. And I wonder in first of all, I can't believe she's going to middle school. She has her orientation today, right now, right now, she's there. And for me, it's like, what is that value going to be for her? The education value. I understand the value of going away to school and becoming independent, and I think that's a big part of going away to school. But not everyone goes away to
Huge.
college. There's a lot of folks that stay local, that go to local community colleges. But what's the value of that? I mean, with so many companies also not requiring degrees anymore, folks are
Right.
getting their education elsewhere with the proliferation of online learning. There's so many other ways to learn and grow. And it's not really frowned upon anymore. Like, oh, you don't have a college degree?
Yeah.
What's the value of it? What's the ROI of a college degree these days? I don't know.
To your point, I think if I were a parent, how I would think about it is to give my child more choice around and opportunities to explore what they're great at and where their skills are, and to try to understand where those skills, might be leveraged best within the economy, and
Fascinating.
what careers might be good ones to explore for them. So, and that might look like summer internships, but it also could look like, going abroad and doing something interesting.
Well, all I know is that this topic is not going away, and it plays into a much broader picture. And speaking of the much broader picture, it's time for our global report with Alin and our friends from Smart
go.
Recruiter. Howdy, 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 howdy. Knock, knock,
Hello?
knock,
Hello?
knock, knock, knock. Who's there?
I'm here. Like,
Knock,
where am I?
knock.
Why am I void? There we go.
Oh, Len, what's happening?
Gosh, so much is happening. I was
How
just
many
listening.
how many millions of degrees is it in Arizona?
It's not that bad right now. It's like it's like it's only in the 80s right now this morning, and it'll probably hit high 90s, which that to me feels like it's fall weather. It's
it's
almost sweater
it's
weather here.
it's early fall out in Arizona. What's
Exactly.
going on? What are we
Nice
what are we
hot days are happening. We're good.
what are we chatting about today?
So today, I was listening to your last conversation. I think this riffs off it really closely. Listen, I think the big news around the world right now is what is happening with AI in the workplace and how employees are actually starting to leverage this technology. Um, so here's the big, most informative thing I think I've gotten in the last month as I've gone out and starting to dig around what's happening in this space. The biggest news here is people are using AI tools and they're using them personally and choosing to leverage them to make their workload manageable. And they're doing it faster and outside of the realms of kind of corporate enterprise AI models and platforms. Right? It is all about leveraging AI tools independently. A lot of bring your own to work sort of solutions
Bring your
happening.
own AI.
Bring your own AI is hot. In fact, we're seeing even more of it because there are more and more tools that are starting to be usable on personal devices. People are starting to be able to allow, I don't know if you guys are doing this yet, but I have ChatGPT on my phone. And when I am
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the line at school pickup, which, that's a lovely place to be, right? I have random thoughts to come to my mind that I start using ChatGPT on immediately so that
Mm-hmm.
I have output by the time I get back to the office. And we're finding more and more people are starting to operate this way, right?
I've seen it. Yeah, I mean, what's interesting too, and it'll kind of like lead to the second point here is from a governance, corporate,
Mhm.
legal, ethical perspective, it's like outside devices. How could this affect the company's bottom line? What is their liability on this? Is there a data breach here? Are you taking confidential work information and putting it into a potentially unsecure site? There are folks in financial, like here, let's open up Pandora's box here for a moment. If you're in a data company and now you're taking data and you're putting it into a third party AI function without the company knowing, that's a world of danger.
A huge world of danger. And I think the challenge here is that what most companies are trying to do to address that is put more policies, rules, and regulations in place. And if there's one thing we know about the world of work, policy, rules, and regulations make absolutely no difference whatsoever
People don't care.
people's actual behaviors, right? So the consequences are huge. That's actually been part of the reason why enterprises and large companies are having challenges adopting AI
Mm-hmm.
at an enterprise level or a larger platform level, because there's all these deep conversations around which core data set are we going to leverage and utilize? What's going to be the privacy around that data set? How are we going to validate and leverage it effectively and with all the right privacy constraints? But while they are sitting in conference rooms, banging their head against the wall, trying to figure out how they can come to some legal and safe way to operate,
Let's
people are
move
doing it.
forward. Yep. Let's riff on that for a little bit here. I think there's two levels to the AI at work conversation. There's using it for your core function of your job that may affect data security, breaching everything, and then there's just operational efficiency, where you're using AI for maybe time management, crafting emails. Right there's a balance there, but at the end of the day, if it's on a work platform, there's security susceptibility for infiltration into the systems. And it has to be, in my opinion, if I'm a business owner, large enterprise, this is a major concern and we need to figure it out. We need to offer options to our employees so they can be better, faster, more efficient, and security.
Right, right. And I think that's what you just hit on is exactly the point. Companies, one, need to realize that people are going to do this whether they give them safe
Mm-hmm.
options to do it or not. So they need to speed up their adoption and options for employees to do this in ways that they feel comfortable with them leveraging it, right? People aren't doing this out of malice, right? And trying
No.
to create security breaches inside their company. They're doing it because it is the way they can manage the overwhelming amount and volume of work that is hitting the individual employee today. So that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of brought up another thing too. Reduction in workforce. The workload has either remained the same or increased. So employees are feeling stress. They're going to look for resources to make their job better, faster, more effective, more efficient, quicker, so they can enjoy family time. It's a double-edged sword here. This is scary times, Ellen.
It's super scary. And I think the biggest challenge here is that people need to be able to look at this holistically. I think what you just pointed out is critical. It is not one thing happening in isolation of the other. You reduce your workforce, you increase people's workload. They're going to have to find ways to navigate and to manage that. They're going to use the tools that are available to them out there in the world, and that's going to put you and your company at risk. So you've got to be able to think about this strategically. There's a really great article that was just posted out there, and we'll send out the link to everybody. I have it on my link
We'll
as
link
well.
it up.
Brian Solis did it with the CIOs magazine. And basically what he talked about was the larger issue here is understanding that this AI thing isn't just about the tools creating efficiency. It is about understanding that the fundamental set of roles, responsibilities, and workflows and work patterns, work processes and business processes all have to be adjusted at the same time. And that's the challenge. We are just not set up to do that at a large level, at a large scale in most companies today. It takes a lot of work, right?
And it's an interesting one too. So let's go down the rabbit hole and let's get into the ethical side of it.
Okay. Well, I mean, ethically, I think there's a lot of questions out there. There's two lenses to this, right? At the very surface level, the ethical conversation is this kind of over angsty concern of what is your work versus what is the machine's work, and what can you take credit for and what can't you take credit for? I think that is an interesting conversation because I think it's going to evolve as we move forward here. I think more people are going to start to realize that it is the quality of the prompts and the creativity used to leverage these tools that is your own personal IP, not necessarily the construct of what gets created on the back end of it, the mangling of numbers, the creation of formulas, the output of a blog, right? And there's a differentiation there, and that's kind of ethically what do you claim is yours and what don't you is step number one. And then the second piece is what is your responsibility as an employee about what data you leverage and utilize and these outside tools and services, and which ones and what data don't you? How are you making smart choices?
And I think the other side of it too that we want to talk about is this whole weird big brothery side of emotion detection, right? Like where companies are using AI. If I'm on a Zoom call right now, am I making my sarcastic face? Am I getting a little sleepy here? Am I being bored? Am I uninterested? Am I overexcited here? Like, and then they're overanalyzing, and we got some big brother action going on. I mean, have you seen these tools in action? Are they real?
Well, they are. So one, yes, I have seen them in action. Two, they are real. Here's the challenge. I will dispel this myth. I do not think they're
Mythbusters. Mythbusters.
It's not being used at broad scale for the most part, right?
No.
I am sure there is probably some company out there who's doing it, but for the most part, here's what it's being leveraged for. It's actually being leveraged in places like customer service. We're starting to see being utilized in some of these call center spaces. It's being applied and put on print interaction. So for example, with chatbots and et cetera. And what this AI can do is it can determine based on how you phrase things. If you're using voice recognition, it can tell by tone of voice. If you're using text to text, for example, with chat, it can look at the way in which you construct your sentences, the cadence that you use to determine things like your stress level, your anxiety level, how interested or uninterested you are in a particular topic, and it can alter how it chooses to respond in order to guide you to the next space. So that's where we're starting to see it. We're not seeing it necessarily. I have not seen reports yet. I'm sure they are out there, but I have not seen them yet of the Big Brother Zoom call frame, right, where everybody's kind of watching and getting some no HR. I don't think there's any HR. Maybe there is. Please let me know. But I don't think there's any HR director taking a report of the company's Zoom call engagement score.
I mean, listen, I feel like I mean, we could go again deeper down rabbit holes here. I mean, I feel like the government's been using it to some extent for many years from a facial recognition,
Sure.
perspective there. But sentiment analysis, focus groups. I mean, there's a lot of positives to it too. If you're thinking about it, if I put on my brand marketing hat and I look at the tech, say I'm doing a focus group and I want to see emotional responses, maybe to a movie, maybe to a commercial, some kind of brand activation. I see some usefulness in that, but in the workplace, I don't need people, judging every eye roll I make. That's why I'm unemployable, and
Yeah.
I'm unemployable because I would over-index on the eye roll matrix all day long. I'd be fired within a day. Sarcasm, eye rolls, done. I'm out.
I don't need it. I'm 100% there with you. I'll give you my great story for the week. So I've been playing with video a lot, like trying to force myself to get comfortable with it.
Mhm.
So I did a quick video recording for an internal Slack message that I posted up. And about 2 hours later, I went back and looked at it, and it was the quintessential resting bitch face.
Could you show us what that looked like? Give us, what does it look like? Show us.
Oh my God.
Do it. No. Just do it now.
Oh, yeah. It was
Like-
this. Like, you couldn't be any stupider. Like, I can't even look at you. Yeah, it was right. And it is the close frame on this video that went out to the entire company.
And it's going to be the first frame of the video too. It's going to be the
It
worst
was.
shot.
That was exactly
Oh
it.
man, that's why people got to do those screenshots. Terrible.
That's right. So that was my lesson there. So imagine if AI is trying to interpret my given emotions at any given time just based on my resting bitch face in my pictures is not helpful.
All right, I love it. Let's we we could talk about this all day long, but let's anything big planned for the Labor Day weekend?
I didn't even know it was Labor Day. You know what? That's what's so sad. No.
What?
I was.
You're
I'm like,
overworked.
I'm overworked. I'm not using my AI to its full
Well,
capabilities.
it's just called the old school calendar. I think that was invented a couple thousand years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. No, my weekend is heavy and busy. We've got a lot of stuff happening over here on the Smart Recruiter side of the house. If you didn't see it today, we literally just announced it about an hour ago. Rebecca Carr has just moved into the permanent CEO spot. Is part of a huge boom. It's part of a huge move that we're making towards an investment in what it looks like to rebuild and reinvent the ATS platform. So I'm super excited about that. And that's what I'm going to be doing all weekend is talking to people about it. Doesn't my life sound exciting?
Well, I hope you have some time to relax and recharge. Alen, Smart Recruiters, thank you as always for your time, your support, and your intel. And you go enjoy and get out this weekend. Well, not out in 100 degrees, but get away from the computer. Step away.
Step away. I will do it. You too. Talk soon, guys.
Take care. Thank you, Ellen. And thank you, Smart Recruiters.
Big info. All right.
What?
Older people tend to use the boomer ellipses whenever they're texting. There's always a random ... in the middle of their messages. Well, that's because they grew up following different rules for informal communication. Nowadays, if you want to separate an idea, you just press enter and start a new line with a new thought. But it made less sense to do that for writing postcards or letters, where you had to save space. So people back in the day learned to separate thoughts by using ellipses. Same with early SMS texting. You were charged by the message, so it was simply more efficient to separate ideas within a single text, and boomers got used to that. However, with the rise of unlimited texting, it became even more efficient to separate different thoughts with different messages, so that became the new grammatical standard online. And that means that the boomer ellipses became redundant, which is why they cause confusion today. They violate what we call the maxim of quantity. They add more information than necessary, so they appear to imply something more than the intended meaning. Most of the time, that comes across to younger people as hesitation,
I'm done with
annoyance,
him.
or passive aggressiveness.
Shut him off.
He's really loud.
He's terrible. He's annoying.
Okay, he's saying this, and this is actually such a huge fight in my house between my mom and the 3 children, is that when you use ellipses, the ... in a message to separate your thoughts or whatever, it comes off as passive aggressive.
That's because you're a wuss. That's because you're soft. That's because you're soft and you take every written thing as personally offensive. It's not. It just means I'm continuing. Touche. That means I'm continuing my thought.
But that's not what it means to us. Ellipses is like, it's like a cliffhanger, or it's being passive aggressive. It's like, okay, ...
Well, I see it that way
You're being
too.
rude.
Well, actually, I do. I think you use it in the right tense, and I actually put on some
Thank you.
extra dots. So I think 3 is the standard, right? In the like 3 dots are the proper way to format it. But sometimes I go like 5 just to prove a point. Like I put extra dots in there, and for me, the extra dots means, hey, no, now I'm being snarky
Oh, so you agree that ellipses are used to be passive
when
aggressive?
I do 5, not 3. 3 means I'm just continuing my thought.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No.
Why?
Because why wouldn't you just enter and then do a new text?
Because I want to leave you with a cliffhanger too, so it's a snarky cliffhanger. I do both. I mix it up. I keep it fresh. I
But a
keep you on your
cliffhanger
toes.
would be entering another text because then the 3 dots appear, the ellipses appear, and it's like, oh, well, I'm continuing the thought and I'm not done yet. But you can't see it, and it gives even more anxiety.
Right, exactly. I'm done with this
just
conversation.
your
Move it on. Next.
I think I'm right.
Whatever. Next.
I think I was. Let me know.
Welcome to the HR Weather, and it's a beautiful day here in Banff, Canada. One of the most beautiful places in the world. I'm a little soon, but the freeze is coming to Canada, and it soon will come to your workplace if you start talking about politics at work. I know the Democratic National Convention just happened, and the election is coming up, I think, November 5th. But as a Canadian watching American politics, it's fascinating. It feels like we live in the upstairs apartment of a Met Lab sometimes. It's cool, though. A recent survey by Glassdoor said that 61% of U.S. employees have talked politics at work. And that just seems really risky, knowing a little bit about American politics, because it's basically a 50-50 split. So by stating your opinion, you have a 50% chance of offending someone. Thing about politics is most people believe they're right, really strongly feel they're right. But guess what? 50% of the population disagrees with you. So I also feel the same about companies sharing their political views, because in reality, business should be inclusive, not divisive. And if you're sharing your opinions, there is a chance that you will become the next Bud Light or Whole Freeze. But on that note, if you're at work and you just get that urge to talk politics and tell your colleague why you think Donald Trump is stupid or Kamala Harris doesn't know anything, just stop. Just don't do it. There's no advantage when it comes to your career or just the relationship with your colleagues. So my advice, don't talk politics at work. And that is the HR Weather. Back to the panel. Welcome to the HR Weather.
We are back. We are back with HR Pause. HR Pause. HR Pause. Whose dog is that? That looks like Izzy. Who's
I'm not
Izzy's dog?
sure. I'm not sure.
That's
whose dog
Summer.
it is.
Summer, is that your dog? Give us a wave down there. Is that your dog? I think that's Summer's dog. Aww.
Aw, so sweet.
Oh, that's
I
Summer.
love
and
what
Summer,
a color.
What a beautiful dog. It's good lighting too. That's a nice coat on. That's a nice coat on that. Izzy looks like a sweet dog.
Yeah.
There's a Fun Dog, Sun Dog. One of my 6-year-old favorite book is Fun Dog, Sun Dog, and it's I'm gonna bring it and do a reading of it in the Christopher Walken.
Fun Dog, Sun Dog.
Sun Dog, Fun Dog, But we'll do that. We'll save that one. But I want to
I'm okay.
thank. I
You're
want to
good.
thank Summer for joining us. And this HR Pause is sponsored by This Way Global and their new tool, Sully Sandbox, a user-friendly interface to search and discover valuable data and AI solutions. And with access to high-quality data assets, you could tap into trusted and secure data and AI solutions. So take a cue from Sully and come play in the sandbox. And guess what? You could check it out. If you want to schedule a demo, scan the QR code on the screen. Wait, that way, right? By scheduling your demo, you'll also be participating in This Way Global's Pause for Pause program, where they will donate $100 to your favorite pet charity. Remember to have your animals spayed and neutered, as the great Bob Barker used to say. We are friends of Pause, and we are friends
Bob
with
Barker?
This Way Global. And thank you for This Way Global for joining us on the show and being a great partner. What time is it, Danielle?
What time is it? Summertime.
I think it's.
No,
is it-
it's actually not. It's I think it's time for Gen Z word of the week.
segment. But what's
See,
the word
when
of the
you
week?
make these references, I don't get them. So you got to go younger, okay? All right. This you're like Delulu to think that I know what you're talking about. And that's
Like what? That was a masterful. Look at that. She's learning. Oh,
I'm
the
learning. I
apprentice is
know.
becoming the master.
I know. All right. So this week's word of the week is Delulu. If you don't know what Delulu means, much like Riz, which is short for, what's it short for, Adam?
The RZA?
Yeah, charisma.
Yeah.
Charisma. Being Delulu is short for being delusional, and it's often used to describe someone who holds unrealistic or overly idealistic beliefs or fantasies, much like Adam. The origins of the term Delulu can be traced back to the K-pop fan community. The term was originally used to criticize other fans' beliefs and theories about K-pop celebrities, and since 2022, the term has gained popularity across social media. So, Adam, what are you Delulu about? What's a Delulu opinion you got?
There's a
That
lot
I
of
would
things
know what Pee Wee's Playhouse music sounds like?
Well, I mean, I think you have to really immerse yourself. Maybe Labor Day weekend, you should spend it indoors and going to binge classic Pee Wee's Playhouse. I mean, there's so many things we could take, like secret word of the day.
There's so many things I would rather be doing with my time than that.
Well, you're going to do it for educational research purposes here. But Delulu, see, I'm going to have to work these words in with my 12-year-old daughter, because I say it in front of her friends, and it's cringe. It is
It's
so
cringe.
cringe. And I've earned this. I've earned the right to
No
do this
cap.
to my daughter, right? To just drop these words on her. I'm going to use Delulu later. I'm going to try to record a few. I'm just going to hold my phone on the side so you can see her
Oh my God,
reaction.
you have to.
I'm going to do it in front of her friends. Oh, I'm going to cringe. I'm going to embarrass the hell out of her. I can't wait. But
I'm gonna
sometimes,
cringe the heck out of her.
but then like it cringes her, but then her friends actually think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like your dad
you know,
knows Delulu.
this is the thing though. So like when I was younger, the parents who I thought were the coolest, their kids always thought they were cringe. So I feel like you can't win with that. You're never gonna win. You're always gonna be cringe. So you might as well be cringe and cool at the same time.
I try to be.
CNC.
I try to be the CNC Music Factory. There's another reference for you to kind of go back. Do you know who
God.
CNC Music Factory is?
No.
You ever hear the song "Everybody Dance Now"?
Yeah.
Everybody- That's CNC Music Factory.
Oh,
See,
it is.
I'm just gonna
You're
bombard
educating me.
you with these references that make me feel so
Literally put me
old.
to sleep.
But I've told you this before. When we went out for coffee like last week, I said I don't feel old. But when I talk to you, you make me feel really old, and I'm not liking this anymore. I'm gonna have to talk to management.
All right. Well, they'll get rid of you, not me.
I am definitely
You're old.
replaceable. I am definitely replaceable because then you can replace me with Joel.
Exactly. Joel is just, I mean, you guys are looking more and more alike these days. I think we need like a side by side of
I think I need.
last or 2 weeks ago when you guys literally looked like twins. You were
Yeah, I'm
both
gonna
rocking a
hit the
hat.
gym. No, I'm gonna hit the
It was
gym.
kind of freaky.
I'm gonna hit the gym and I'm gonna get swole. I'm gonna get swole like Joel. I'm
Swole like
delusional.
Joel.
Delusional of the fact that I'll ever go to the gym. It's just not a place. I'm Delulu. If you think I'm gonna
There
go
we
to
go.
I'm gonna let's
you're gonna
let's
ever look anything like Joel. Yeah, you're
wait a
delulu to
minute.
think that.
Do we have a call coming in? We have a caller.
Oh, we might. Knock knock.
Knock knock. Who's there? Hey, Summer. Summer Baruth, what's happening?
How are you?
It is a pleasure and an honor, and you are looking bright and cheery this morning.
Thank you. I'm trying to hold on to my youth a little bit because I also have Gen Zers in my house that tell me that I'm cringe
Oh, God.
almost daily, or they'll say, "Don't ever say that again."
Where on this fine planet?
Bombastic side eye.
Where on this fine planet are we speaking to you this morning?
So I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's the metropolis of the South, I guess. I don't know.
We're in the same time zone. So real quick, for everyone who may not know you out there, tell us who you are and what you do best.
Absolutely. So, Summer Baruth, I always talk about how I'm lighting people up and helping people feel seen, but my day job is as a brand strategist and employer brand. Like most people in the employer brand world, I got thrown into it when I was on a different HR path, and they were like, "Oh, you did morning radio. You would be perfect for doing social media for people." And at the time, they were like, "Social recruiting, social something. We just need to be out there." So, I've kind of made it my own. I knew nothing about it, 20 years ago or whatever. So it's just been fun to walk the path.
People get thrown in.
People. And I would say, what am I best known for? Disrupting life as we know it for HR professionals and making them uncomfortable.
Well, let's get into this a little bit, right? So I am a recruiter by trade.
Yeah.
And I live in uncomfort, discomfort, awkwardness, hard conversations, all that too. And like you, I've been around the block for a little bit at this stage of our career, and we've seen it. We've seen that old school HR, and HR is now morphing. How have you seen HR change in the last 20 years?
So I would say that, we've gone very much from being that policy-driven function and organization. I think we're still feared in a lot of organizations, right? From an HR perspective, like, "Ooh, don't let
Fear
HR
me."
be a party." Yeah, but I think you're starting to see an evolution now of it being more people and culture-driven, and really more. I think companies have really understood the losses that they took during the pandemic. And as we look at more generations, Gen Z, Danielle, looking at you, coming into organizations while also trying to transition, the OGs, as I call them, to still have viable careers, it's a lot to manage. And so I think that's the evolution that I see. And the companies that aren't evolving with that are screwed.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 or 4 generations in the workplace right now. There's a lot of different generations. It's fascinating. It's gone so fast too. I mean, I look back at my leaders who I'm still friends with from 20 years ago, and they were like my age. They're younger. They were younger than me then, leading those companies. Yeah. And you see the change, and you see the change in communication. You see the change in technology. So let's talk about the change in hiring.
Yeah.
Right. We go back and back in the day before computers and internet, people were faxing resumes. It was a very binary process. It was sitting in the waiting room of the HR office waiting to get called in. And with the advent of technology and with the advent of marketing and brand marketing, companies now need to brand themselves to be attractive for talent. What's your take on the current state of employer branding and brand marketing?
It's interesting, right? Because I feel like there's still this push-pull that happens. There's not a lot of there's a lot of organizations that are dabbling in this, right? And like trying to figure it out. And I think there's a small fraction of organizations that have nailed it. I think the biggest thing that happens and what I see, not just the companies that I work in or working with or work for, right? But it's just what I see as the industry as a whole is that there's always this push-pull between HR, brand, comms, and leadership. And so the buy-in has to really be from all groups, and how do you work that together? So the companies that are doing it really well right now are doing a good job around storytelling, and anybody that's worked with me will know my biggest mantra is like, don't just tell me how awesome you are. Like, you better damn show me how awesome you are. And I don't want you showing me, I want your people showing me. So it becomes that storytelling route. And like, how are you authentically telling me that story?
Yeah, I'm smiling because you said show versus tell, and I'm a big believer in that. And I do this keynote. Well, aside from this show, I have my show, the podcast, and I do this keynote presentation where I talk about how companies could build an internal podcast for their companies. And one of my slides is literally show versus tell.
Yeah.
And it's not about having your CEO or your head of people doing the show. It's empowering your internal employees to create a show, which help drives culture, which they could use in their employer branding. They could use segments in the recruiting process. They could use video clips, sound clips, different elements of actual people who are not staring into a freaking teleprompter saying why they love the company. Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
How do you define culture in an organization?
By the people.
What do you mean? That's canned. I'm going to call you on that one.
I know, but
Dig
like by
deeper.
the people, like by what's the story that people are telling me? So when I have a leader say, I don't really put a lot of credit into Glassdoor because people that are just pissed off go there. That's actually not true. Because let's look at, like it doesn't have to be Glassdoor. Name any review platform.
Mhm.
People are going there because they don't have any other place to go to be heard.
There's
right?
no clearinghouse for disgruntled employees.
Exactly. So, and people who might just be mildly offended or mildly perturbed about something also are, going on to these same review sites, and you're not getting it. Listen, I have this conversation all the time. Oh, but our survey results are showing that, our trends are up. And I'm like, they feel like they have a gun held to their head when they're taking those surveys.
Right. It says anonymous, but you definitely know who it's coming from. I mean, this isn't rocket science from a tech perspective to figure out where that.
Of my peers and say, well, our team, is scoring this, then you know who I am when I'm taking that, right? So I think, it's really how are people organically talking about us when we're not in the room. It's like any other kind of reputation, right? Like when we're not a part of that conversation, what are they really saying? Are they really referring their friends and things
That's what
like
reputation
that?
is.
For me, that's the culture piece. It's really around what do our people think about, who we are.
Exactly.
I think when it comes to employer brand, I think where a lot of companies get it wrong is they only hone in on the attract and hire. And there really has to be an education around, how are we engaging our people as part of that brand? How do they see us? And then how are we evolving with them to tell that story so that they feel like they're a part of it? Because employer branding is really retention to me. It always has been.
Let's shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk about. I've been going to a lot of conferences lately.
Me too.
I've been doing my show at conferences, and they're always in like a place where it's a after party kind of vibe going on, and with after parties comes drinking, and overall, I've seen a big shift in civilization where we're moving away from like that drinking culture, but it's still there.
Yeah.
Right. It's still there. There's still a lot of pressure. And guess what? There's a lot of people out there that don't drink for a lot of reasons. Personal preferences, addiction, all these things. What's your take here? How are we going to embrace? And this is crazy talk. This is HR.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, HR people get the most crazy at these conventions. It's like no one's looking, like everyone's looking.
Well, I think it's that whole vibe of if I'm out with my company, I have to hide. We have to be the typical HR, but if we're all together, like the freaks come out at night kind of situation. So I think it's interesting.
It's like the Michael Jackson video, right? Does Danielle know that one? Does Danielle know the Thriller video?
Like, I was dying listening to her be like, who is that? I've never heard of that.
There's no QB Herman. What the?
Yeah,
We'll
so
sidebar that. We'll sidebar that somewhere.
that one. But I think you're right. I've seen an evolution over the years where like there's more parties that have alternatives to them and it not always just being so bound into the drinking culture. I think, from a well-being perspective and a burnout perspective, just where we all are in this industry, that can be really dangerous. We have a whole nother sect of people that have had really horrible things happen to them when you mix up people at these conferences. People forget boundaries. I've been vocal about the fact that I've had my own experiences where people just push and push and push. I know it's the hair and it's the lovely personality that you think I'm always flirting, but I'm not. Just so,
boundaries, people.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, I think we're smart in the fact of how with these conferences, we've gotten much better around how we're providing secure environments for people and also providing more alternative types of situations where people feel comfortable not having to drink. I'm going to RecFest. I don't know how much drinking I'll be doing. Just saying.
Well, I mean, RecFest was interesting last year. I mean, but here's the problem. You're going to Nashville, which is a party town, right? You're going to Nashville, which is a party town. And I see a lot of, now I'm talking about RecFest, I'm talking about just general blanket statement. I see a lot of companies, they give out tickets for their happy hour. Here's a drink ticket. Here's this, here's that. I think that there's other ways to incentivize people to come versus the free drink.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe it's an alternative. Maybe it's, some people like the THC beverages, or some people like nothing. Some people just like mocktails. People just want to be able to go to an event with people they want to be at without the pressure of having to drink.
I think being mindful of having a little bit of something for everyone. And listen, I've worked in a lot of organizations, both in corporate and just in different types of like Talent Brand Alliance, for instance. Like I used to do their events. Like we would try to make sure we had alternatives for people because, to your point, for some people it is just a personal preference. For others, it's a well-being issue. For others, it's my mental health,
sobriety.
And exactly. So I mean, there's a lot of different things around it, and I think even if you move separately from conferences, I think organizations as a whole need to be better about it. Like I still walk through companies that have taps in every lobby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how buzzed do I need to be while I'm working on policy around here? Like, I'm not really sure, right?
Well, different, and also here's the other thing too. I'm just gonna say this too. Like, let's also be careful here, just to not shame people who do enjoy a drink, right? Like some people, like in moderation. Like I'll tell you, after I do a full 8 hours of nonstop podcasting and event, I like to have a drink, but I'm also very mindful of consumption and moderation, and I also know my own limits too of when I get past the point of like I don't want to be. I also know when to excuse myself. That's
Right.
I'm like, I'm done. Go in my room.
Different.
Bye, guys. Bye. See you later.
Yeah, because not
but a lot of people don't.
And so listen, this weekend I'm going to Nashville to party with my safe zone of friends for a very different event. So I'll have it all out of my system by the time I get there for the conference, right? And that's more of a
dash it out.
Yeah, that's more of a me thing. I want to feel good while I'm attending meetings. I want to like have the networking experience and not, but I'm still going to drink. I'm going to drink in moderation. So let's be clear. But I do think from just helping people feel like comfortable in those situations, providing lots of different alternatives or other types of events that aren't surrounded around like the alcohol itself is also fun.
Well, you know what's interesting here, Danielle? Give you a second here. I want to bring you in to close this segment out for a minute, Danielle. I want to get your take from this Gen Z perspective too about drinking at conferences. Let's bring Danielle back in here for a moment here. What you've been to a bunch of these. We'll get the screen going in a minute here. But what's your take from this conference perspective on the necessity of alcohol and alcohol centered events? We need to bring in this perspective.
Yeah, I love that we're having this conversation. And, it's something that I've seen. In my own life, I have been less of a drinker basically since college. And it's been a huge barrier socially. But it would have been a bigger barrier had I grown up and matured in Adam's age, like by when he was going through college.
It was a Mad Men era. It was totally like I mean that's
people just like chugging beers everywhere. Wake up, chug. No, yes, and
wake up, chug, work.
It's been written about a lot. Also like Wolf of Wall Street, that kind of era. It's been written about a lot how there's a sober movement, a sober curious movement. And it's really starting with Gen Z. We're drinking less. We're more interested in, activity-based communities and, getting outside our comfort zone, trying new things, exploring, and not just going to a bar and drinking our life away kind of thing. And like, no shame if you do that. But I think we do have more of an emphasis on not just mental health, but physical health and, what empowers our mental health. And that is, for a lot of people, staying away from alcohol. And it's interesting because, Summer, I've also shared a bit about my own experience with, similar boundary crossing and things like that at conferences. And I'm only in the first few years of my career. So for that to have happened to me and, it's such an early stage means that it's happening, a lot more than we think it is. And I think there's a big responsibility for conferences to be aware and to get ahead of that. Yeah. And if they don't, it's irresponsible. And I know several conferences that, know that happens and they don't do anything about it. So that's been a conversation amongst me and my colleagues too.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about it and raising awareness and putting it out there that companies do not have to revolve around alcohol. And that's one of them. When I go to HR Tech in September, one of my goals, I'm just talking kind of openly about this. I want to take a couple of potential sponsors and partners to some other cool stuff in Vegas, like Meow Wolf, and see some other interactive things where you're having a different type of experience versus the classic happy hour or restaurant bar environment. More
mean, I loved-
experiential, more experiential.
I mean, listen, they're always in like fun places, right? So there's always so much to do. And I think to your point, Danielle, like we want more experiences as a whole, right? And it did start with Gen Z. And I think like, but the rest of us are kind of like, oh, that actually is kind of fun. I'd rather go do
Yeah.
that instead, right? Like give me a Museum of Illusions are always like fun, kind of cheesy, but still fun. And who doesn't want content, right? Like it's just, you know, like you kind of do those kind of things and that makes it fun too. You can have alcohol there, but I just think like not having it centered on that. Because again, I do like to drink, but I don't want, I feel like I have to like just be sitting at a bar, like pounding back. Like it's more fun
Yeah.
to do other things. And I'm usually, you know, at those conferences for a reason, whether I'm speaking or I'm wanting to network and like grow like my knowledge about things. And like, if I'm hungover, that's not going to work. Right. So
Not at all. And I mean, even at
I'll take
Transform,
cool swag. Like I'll take cool swag for open bar. Just saying like,
Yeah, give me a cool hoodie.
I agree. Like one of my favorite memories was being at Transform earlier this year and going to, you know, comedy show with shout out Evan and Ben.
I was there.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I missed Transform this year because I was in the transition between two roles, and I was like, man, I want to go so bad. I love Transform. My all-time Transform moment was like seeing Nelly and like being like he was right here on stage in front of me.
Well, we had Florida this year. That was a whole different. We had Florida giving away sneakers, and
I know
it got ratch. Can I use the word ratch, Danielle?
it did.
Is it crazy?
It got ratchet.
It got a little ratchet. Well, Summer, I like this
Got a little
segment, and
sus.
we'd love to have you back on as a regular correspondent. I want to wish you a great Labor Day weekend and a great trip twice to Nashville in 2 weeks. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, and then I'm going to Toronto the following week.
Toronto's a great city. Great city. I went to school up in Buffalo. We used to go to Toronto all the time. It's like a clean
right?
little New York. It's a great.
I know. It's so fun. So like September is my week of travel, and then maybe I'll take a break.
Cool.
I have a senior in high school and a senior in college. So
Oh man.
Get over here.
Wow.
So I can get away when I can.
you enjoyed Summer. Where could folks find you? Where could they connect? Where could they learn more?
LinkedIn's the best place. So I'm the only person right there. That's me. I'm the only Summer Baruth out in the world.
Can we give a virtual high five? Does
Thanks
that
for
work?
having me, guys. It's so fun.
All right, Summer. Thank you. Bye,
Summer.
Moving on. Wait, someone else knocking? He's been waiting.
Recruiting 101. No, it just sounds so intense. It's like reporting live from Baghdad. No. I gotta wear like my battle helmet next week. How y'all doing? Not much. Well, lots always happening. Yeah, we got Wreckfest in a couple weeks. I think I'm kind of with you guys on the drinking thing. Kind of getting tickets for other things would be kind of fun. But today, let's dive into it. We're going to talk some automation again. I know I've got a lot of messages about this. I talk to people about this every single day, and recruiters about this every day. The right way to use automation. One of my friends, Daniel Miller, posted about it the other day, so I thought it'd be worth reflecting. How do you do this right? Especially now with like AI and tools like Clay and all that stuff coming out. It's really given some really cool opportunities to leverage automation the right way and AI, and what's the balance with kind of the human touch and letting the technology do some of the work for you. So we're gonna get right into it. So I got 5 topics I want to cover. Number 1, don't use extensions if you can avoid it. Use cloud-based software especially if you're on LinkedIn. The other thing is use a paid LinkedIn account. Don't expect to use it for free. LinkedIn wants you to pay for something: premium, sales nav, recruiter Lite, recruiter pro. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For certain things, I'm not heavy on the emails. I use them. They don't give you a lot also with Lite. I think I only get like 30 a month, so I'm very careful with them. But I use another tool for recruiting. I'm not going to say it on the air right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't violate the TOS. It doesn't, it sits on top of it too. But you have to be careful with these things if you're scraping and digging, right?
Oh, yeah. And I don't do much scraping and digging, at least definitely not from LinkedIn. I know some people definitely
Right. That's how I get email addresses.
It can be how you get email addresses, and there's different ways, and some Google searches and X-ray searches. There's different ways to get stuff outside of LinkedIn as well. I think for kind of the LinkedIn piece is we use it for connection requests, building out those drip sequences. I think the ways to get around that is to be very targeted about who you're going after, right? The spray and pray, the days of the mass list and mass blast people on LinkedIn. We all get those in our inbox. They're all annoying. So
Annoying.
So exactly. So use your profile as a marketing page. Let your audience know why you're reaching out without having to say much, right? Kind of your LinkedIn profile should be your connection message is the way I look at it. And so you don't have to kind of bombard people with messages, and really no more than 3 messages for business development, 4 for candidate outreach.
Yep.
Leave on a good note. Leave the conversation, leave it open, the door open for future conversations. Have a cadence that's spaced out. Don't bombard people with 4 messages in 3 days. Some people might be on vacation this week, and they might not see it for another couple of weeks. So.
Well, it's interesting. Let's talk about that too. I think it's very mindful. And I was talking to one of my clients about this going into this week of sourcing too.
Yeah.
I said to them straight up, I go, I'm probably going to pause sourcing as of Wednesday. Right. And then they push back like, what if people are actually home and responsive? And I go, I'm just going to take a general sentiment that a lot of people this weekend, it's their weekend to take off. So your email is going to get buried. And you're not going to have that effectiveness. And give it a little air on the other side, too. People, if you're going after passive candidates who are in the workplace, they're catching up on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Hit them at night.
The holidays, especially like the federal holiday type, with the July 4th, the Labor Day, it's a great time to kind of use your outreach, use your connection request on maybe networking, right? Or kind of building up some stuff and not maybe being super aggressive. Now with candidate sourcing, I mean, you could always, if you're giving someone a potential job opportunity and offering that out, I mean, you can throw it out there, but I think, as to your point, manage your expectations. And if you send them a message this week, maybe check in and set the cadence for a week from now. Some of that, you don't have to be overly aggressive, and also let content do the work. If people are on LinkedIn, post. That's why relevant content is so important to having these automated sequences do well for you, right? And that's what keeps you top of mind. And the one last thing I'll say is you want to be relevant and not necessarily personalized with your message. A lot of people, and I'm sure we get this in our inbox, like, oh, Clark, saw you went to UMass Amherst, or you worked here, did this. It's like, I don't care. Like,
you worked at Chuck E. Cheese. Clark, I see you worked at Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, no, not on any list. Yeah, no,
Clark, I see that you're a male. We have so much in common.
Yeah, exactly. So how interesting, your last name is 2 L's, not 1. It's like, all right, we'll get to the business point. And you guys might not have known that, but fun fact for you. But like, get to the point in sense of
when there's a will, there's a cox.
Let's.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's remember your name.
What's that?
Continue.
Yeah.
You don't need to listen to him. He's
I'm moving forward.
My goal is to make her cringe. I'm not demure. Sorry.
God.
I think I've seen her do that about 6 times.
You keep saying mindful, and it's like it's really demure.
So. I always forget the Gen Z word, but this week was good. Was it Delulu? What is it?
Yeah,
I'm Delulu.
Yeah.
Adam is totally
without
Delulu
Joel here.
today.
He gets a little Delulu.
No, truly. Wait,
Joel,
but actually,
so did you say Joel keeps us in check?
I think so. I think he keeps you in
yeah,
check.
he bridges the gap for sure. This one is a little bit off the rails. But I did want to say something.
Content. It's exciting.
Something that stands out to me. I get these sales messages, and a lot of the time they reach out to connect. They're like, "Oh, I love your profile. I love your content," and then they start hard selling me. Mm-hmm. Okay, and like you said, 4 messages in like 5 days, and I'm just
brutal.
like, I literally got to a point yesterday where I just said to this woman, I was like, I don't appreciate being sold to when you're connecting with me, to connect, and it's genuine, but like it's actually just to sell to me. But what I do like is when someone engages with my content and then, follows up and is like, oh, I'd love to hear more about your work, or, oh, let's schedule a time to connect. And if I see that there might be some overlap or some potential collaboration, I might take a call. But other than that, I'm not interested in being sold to.
But we all love to buy stuff, right? So there's always like, and I completely agree with you.
But it can my point is like, it can happen organically and less so, it's like, oh, I offer this thing. Oh, funny enough, that's actually something you're focused on.
Or take a minute to learn about what I do and not be so off topic. Like engage a little bit. Take me out to dinner before you.
Exactly, right. And I think to your point, the people that are probably doing that have probably identified you. Is it makes sense for you guys to be connected or for them to engage in your content? Right, they're spending time building a targeted list and really
Yeah.
identifying who they're using their outreach on. And I think that's where what we appreciate. That's what you're saying you appreciate is like have some interest, right? I might be in the market for email software or a CRM or a copywriter or whatever it is, but kind of why, right? What makes you think that? For you, maybe because you post consistent content, right? So if a copywriter were to engage with you, that would make sense, right? Maybe for someone and kind of do it in that realm, like, oh, you create great content. How do you go about it? Yada yada, right? Like, what are the challenges? Like. And that's the way to get intelligent with your automation. And people typically, I think what I've seen, Danielle, is people really get lazy with their list building, or it gets annoying. It's like, oh, I got to build the list and then I got to do manual outreach. Well, if you can automate that, spend time on focusing on building the list. That should be, and then automate an intelligent campaign to people that are going to appreciate, being reached out to, right? And as you said, not being hard pitched, but connect, and kind of that filtering is connect first and then see if there's an area of relevance and timing for that conversation to kind of build organically.
Definitely.
These are pro
I
tips.
like it.
And listen, Carl's Carl.
You've done that twice.
Oh man, I apologize.
How about
He doesn't
last
have his
name
glasses on today.
No, I don't have
man.
my glasses on today. But you hit the nail on the head here. It comes down to relevance, and you don't have to be over personalized, because then it gets a little creepy, right? There's a right balance there, and monitor your automated systems. Check them. Make sure they're pulling in the right data too, right? Like send it to yourself. Send it to yourself. Send it to a friend before you launch a campaign. Make sure it's pulling in. There's nothing worse when you get dear first name. Like, make sure it's working, like the basics of automation.
I've done that a couple
I've done
times
that before.
when I was learning. Yeah, and the one last thing I'd say is I talk about like a personalized second message. And what I mean by that is like personalized when someone replies to you, your introduction or whatever, you ask a question, like then you can do some digging on their content, their LinkedIn profile and all that, and have more of a personalized second message reply, and you can kind of make it a little bit more specific. What I mean by this for recruiters, if you have a prospect reply to you that talks about their hiring process or whatever, or where they're at right now, check the open jobs on their LinkedIn, on their careers page on their website, and be like, hey, I saw this role has been open for a little bit. Like, that seems like it might be under your department. Like, how are you guys going about that search, right? When you see someone is engaged with you on LinkedIn, that's the tell to kind of dive a little bit deeper. So, just different ways to kind of think about it and make it happen.
I dig it. Carl.
Twice.
That one was on purpose. Tell everybody why they should be checking out Digital Recruiter and who's it for.
Digitalrecruiter.io, or connect with me on LinkedIn, Clark Wilcox, with 2 L's, as Adam kindly reminded us.
It's not Carl.
So we work with recruiters, agency recruiters, corporate recruiters, setting up sales, marketing, and recruiting systems to save you a ton of time and get you to do more of what you need to do, which is conversations with people that are going to fill the roles. Come check us out.
Clark knows what he's doing. He has incredible success stories. I know it firsthand. I've seen it. This dude knows his stuff, and I want to thank him always for being an incredible correspondent on the show. Thank you for joining us. What do you got going on Labor Day weekend?
That's
some time with the kid.
Just take my boy to the playground. Hang out. We did touch a truck last weekend. He saw fire trucks and police cars, so he had a great
Always
time.
fun.
So to the zoo, science museum, who knows? So keep it chill.
Get crazy. Maybe go to Home Depot, Bed Bath and Beyond.
I don't have enough time.
I don't know if you have enough time. I don't know if you have enough time. I didn't think I was going to crowbar that reference in, but Clark, take care. Have a great weekend, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you both. Yeah.
And Danielle, I think that. Wait a minute. Look at the timestamp up there. Did we do it?
I think we did it on time, and it's probably because Joel's not here.
I think we did it. And this show, folks, would not be possible without help from our incredible friends and support over at ERIN, the employment referral app. We appreciate them for everything they do for us. Big shout out to Mike and the gang here. And guess what? There's a show coming on later today. Check out Hire Her, a talent collective podcast today at 1 p.m. out on the West Coast, 4 p.m. here out on the East Coast. We'll link that up in the comments where folks could tune in. Guess what? You could find us every Tuesday morning. We're here, whether it's me, Danielle, Joel, some combination of all of us, none of us, some of us, we're all here. You can find out more. We are now on YouTube. We are on Spotify, and we're always on purpleacorn.io. Check out the audio version of our podcast. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Follow us. We are here. This is fun, and we can't do it without your support. So thank you for taking the time. Danielle, final thoughts heading into Labor Day weekend. What do you got going on? What do you got going on this weekend?
I am probably, not totally confirmed, but probably going to an adult summer camp called Third Nature. It's all about personal development. So if you have no Labor Day plans and you feel like joining me, it's for all ages. It's very
Adults, all adult
intergenerational.
ages.
All adult ages, yeah. 18 and up.
Wait,
and
is
it's
that the
gonna be a good
demographic we're
weekend.
both in? Is that the only overlap that we have, that we're both technically adults?
We're both adults.
We're both adults.
Unless you're a senior citizen.
We're Gen Adult. That's our well, summer camp's cool, and I went to summer camp, and it's fun, and you're gonna meet some new people. Oh, wait, hold on, Josh. My friend Maha down in over there in Minneapolis. I saw some videos of the Minnesota State Fair. It looks incredible. It looks like a proper state fair shenanigan food, things you would never eat ever in your life. Weird animals, like they have milking,
wow.
it's great out there.
That sounds dangerous.
We're
What about
anticipating.
you? What are you doing?
We're anticipating another beautiful weekend here on the South Shore of Long Island. It's going to be boats and pools, and we're going to have a little family palooza pool action on Sunday. We got some friends coming out, kid friendly, good times, pool,
Love
tunes,
it.
barbecue.
Any slip and slides?
No, because that's slip and fall, and we don't like liability in our house. We don't want any of that. But we have some shenanigans with the
Boring.
kids. Thanks to Evan, we have our giant peacock float, which is incredible. I'll send some pictures of it this weekend. I'm going to fix a giant boat he sent us that takes up my whole pool. There's a hole in it. It's literally the Evan White Titanic that I got to fix. It hit an iceberg in my shed. It ripped a hole in it. And
No.
my wife's like, when are you going to fix the boat? And I'm like, I don't have enough tape. What am I going to do here? But we want to thank everybody here. I want to thank my production crew in the studio truck in the parking lot here. I want to thank Melinda and Ben. I want to thank Evan and everyone else for making this possible. Danielle, you have a great weekend. Everyone out there,
Thank
you know where to
you.
find out more. Go to purpleacorn.io. Follow us on LinkedIn. Check us out on Spotify and YouTube. And everyone have a great and safe holiday weekend. Take care, everybody.
Enjoy. See you next time.